You're listening to The Breakfast Show on Faith FM with Skafy and Elliot and producer Shell. Today, if you're listening live, is Monday, the 11th of May, 2026. And we have a great show ahead of us. We're going to be talking about Donald Trump's golden statue. We're going to be talking about the National Sabbath Day that President Trump has also called for in the United States. We are going to have an interview with Justin Lawman. We're going to talk about how to travel the world for pretty much for free.
Awesome.
And more.
And more, yeah.
But before we get into any of that, I would like to ask producer Shell, with all of the eagerness and sympathy that I can possibly muster, to see if she can
hold yourself back.
Give us a new quiz question.
All right, quiz number 3. Where were Gaius and Aristarchus from?
Whoa, Gaius
and
Aristarchus
from. Where were they from? Elliot?
I don't know.
Oh.
You
But
can get
I'll
this one,
try.
Elliot.
It sounds...
Not correct, Skafy, sorry. I believe in you. No, sorry.
Okay.
Close, but no. 0491-064-669 is our text line for you to text in where you think that these two fellas are from. Where was Gaius and Aristarchus from? 0491-064-669. Skafy has gotten it with his second attempt. Yeah,
Okay.
Thanks for the hidden tip there,
yeah
producer
that's
Shell.
right.
Oh, man.
There's a hidden tip in that story. What are you going to be talking to us about, my friend? What are you bringing from the world of positive and uplifting news?
Now, this is interesting, and I think this is actually quite positive and uplifting, which is a study that has been ongoing since 1939. Found that the US drinking rate is at its lowest ever since 1939. Which is quite incredible. So I looked into this. There's a company, an analytics company called Gallup. Okay. And they have been tracking the statistics of, drinking rates in the US since 1939. And they found that this, the most recent year that they could do is 2025 because we haven't finished 2026 yet. But as of 2025, that is the lowest amount of drinking that has ever happened in the US, lowest drinking rates of 3 consecutive years. So it's just gotten lower and lower and lower.
But is that the lowest in history as well?
Yes, the lowest in history.
Since they started recording it?
Since they started recording.
Wow, that's actually pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is quite interesting. And I looked
It is shocking to me.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I looked at the stats because I was like, well, what actually is going on here? Who's deciding not to drink and what's going on? They said that 54% of Americans say they consume alcohol. Now, this is interesting. 54% say they consume. And the question wasn't like, how much do you consume? The question was, do you have any alcohol at all? And 54% of them said yes, not even specifying how often. It was just yes, maybe like once a month, maybe once a year, maybe once a day, maybe once a week. But it was, do you consume alcohol or not? Yes or no. 54% said yes, which means 46% said no.
So
Which is
46%
incredibly high.
do not drink a single drop of alcohol.
Yeah.
I tend to think that a lot of people would have said no if they were like a once a monther, though.
Possibly. I mean, that is a possible option. That could have happened. But still, it's pretty incredible.
If you're like,
Yeah.
I rarely do it, so I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's some change in the methodology there. So are they including kids, for example?
Well, that's actually a good question. I didn't know exactly like what is the age bracket that they like the defining age brackets of when these people that they are getting the surveys from, but they did include it says here includes from young adults, so young adults to old people.
Yeah, and
includes everyone.
Do they know? Do they try to inquire? Hey, why is it that less and less people are drinking? in the
Yeah,
United
well,
States?
they put it down to the fact that there's a lot more evidence, a lot more research going into the effects of alcohol on the body. And people are realizing that it doesn't matter how much you have, if you have any alcohol, it's bad for you.
Wow.
There's no positive benefits.
Man, it's amazing.
to having alcohol. And so because there's a lot of the younger generation they've been learning this, they've been growing up with alcohol's bad for you. It doesn't help you. It affects your brain. It affects your body. They found that, women and the young adults in America are the leading the leading groups of people that don't drink alcohol. So 51% of women say they don't drink. 50% of the youth say they don't drink alcohol at all, which is incredible. That's like half of the US women, half of the US youth.
Good on them.
Yeah, that's what I reckon. That's incredible.
Yeah. Well,
that is amazing. And
Wow.
this was something that was interesting as well. I don't know if there's correlation here between anything, but the largest percentage decline among groups is those who make less than $40,000 a year. They had a 14% decrease in alcohol, people that say they consume alcohol since 2023. So from 2023 to 2025, 14% of people that earn less than $40,000 have stopped drinking, which is actually quite incredible. That's a lot. The other interesting
So it's kind
thing,
of like, look, people that are low income earners, they're saying, you know what? We're already not making a lot.
yeah,
It's not very wise to spend the little that we make on booze.
Yeah, let's
That's
say
only
that.
going to make us sicker and poorer the next day.
yeah. And so they're
Making a good financial decision.
They're making a great financial and health decision. They're making a great decision. The other thing that I thought was actually very fascinating was that 13% of the households that earn $100,000 or more, 13% of them also have stopped taking alcohol as of 2023. So between 2023 and 2025,
Wow.
there's been a 13% reduction in the amount of people that earn $100,000 or over. They've also stopped drinking alcohol. And this final one was interesting. You know what the biggest group of people that stopped drinking alcohol?
Who?
Since 2023 with a 19% reduction. This, I don't even understand why this is the case, but it's actually Republicans. People that identify as followers.
I'm wondering if Charlie
agree with the
Kirk has
Republican-
anything to do with that, though.
That is quite possible. That is very possible that maybe Charlie Kirk has influenced that. Who knows? But it's interesting that among the Republican people that, identify as Republican, agree with that party, they have had a 19% reduction, which is almost 1 in 5.
Decided I'm stopping with the booze.
1 in 5, pretty much 1 in 5 Republicans since 2023, so only in a 2-year span, have decided, I no longer want to drink. It just completely gotten rid of it, which I reckon is actually quite incredible.
Wow, it is.
So this is fascinating stuff.
I'm wondering if this might have something to do with like some religious revival as well, like evangelical revival, because there had been a few revivals that happened, particularly in university campus in 2023, 2024. And I'm wondering if people coming to the Lord and they're saying, hey, you know what? I don't need this. I don't need to be drunk with wine.
Yeah.
This is dissipation. The Bible says this is dissipation. Dissipation is basically squandering. You're wasting your resources, your energy. So basically the Bible says if you want to waste stuff, if you want to just throw your money and your health out the window, well, one great way to do this is by drinking.
Yeah.
You're going to this is dissipation.
Exactly.
And the Bible says instead, how about filling yourself up with the Holy Spirit? And you know what? For people that are on their journey and who want to stop drinking, I think that one of the great Bible counsels is instead of whenever are the times of the day that you normally would be drinking, try replacing that for prayer and Bible study.
Yeah.
You're going to get like a double whammy. So not only you're not going to be spending your money and squandering your health, you're actually going to be gaining health, gaining wisdom, gaining.
Yeah. And I would say that doesn't even apply just to drinking, but it would apply to any kind of addiction.
Yeah, right.
Know? If you're wanting to beat it, then spend more time with God.
With something
replace
better.
it. Yeah. Replace it with something better.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I think what happens with addictions, this is a whole topic that you could get onto, but if you try and just quit cold turkey without replacing it, oftentimes you'll just end up relapsing. They've found that to be the case. So yeah, if you can replace it with something better than what your addiction is, then all the more power to you.
That is fascinating.
But I was thinking, I was like, it's fascinating, and they found that with this study, a majority of Americans, so 53% of Americans, they said, yeah, drinking is bad for your health. That's more than half of America was saying, yeah, we know drinking is bad, which is incredible because in 2018, it was only 28% of America that said drinking's bad for your health. So there's obviously a growth in the knowledge that, yes, alcohol is actually bad for you. There is no benefit to be had from drinking alcohol. And 66% of the youth thought drinking is bad. So that's quite a majority there, which is incredible. And I was looking, I was like, what is, other than the fact that there's awareness now that alcohol is bad, I wonder what other things have contributed to the reduction in people drinking alcohol. And I think one of them, I was looking into this, I was like, is there a relationship between less alcohol and higher levels of loneliness? Because, like here in Australia, a lot of the culture is, you go out and hang out with your mates and you have a drink with your mates kind of thing. So it tends to be more of a social kind of thing, drinking socially. And if there's a reduction in like socializing, there could also be a reduction in drinking that goes along with it. So I think that may have a part to play. And I looked into this and it said like sort of, it's a bit more nuanced than that kind of thing. But at the bottom line, it is super interesting and fascinating to know that actually there is a growing awareness of people that are choosing not to drink. There's also a growing market of like non-alcoholic drinks.
Yes.
Which is really fascinating. And so I think it's incredible actually that we're becoming more aware. It's good news. We're becoming more aware that drinking is bad. And that would mean if everyone stopped drinking, there'd be far less, alcohol related accidents, like driving accidents and people getting hurt and all this kind of stuff. So,
absolutely. I believe we'll have a better world all around if there's no alcohol in it.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
I am curious to know what was the answer to that question that I didn't get. You got it, Skafy. Producer Shell, what was the answer to that question? Who were Gaius and Aristarchus? Where were they from?
They were from Macedonia.
That's so frustrating because I'm half Macedonian. I feel like I should have gotten that,
I know.
That's, oh man.
I was wondering if the names sounded Macedonian or not enough for you to have gotten it from their names, but they
really.
could be. They sound very Greek sounding to me as well.
By the way, you know how it's one of the most famous Bible verses in the Macedonian translation of the Bible?
What is it?
Thou shalt not live by piperski alone, but by every word that comes out of the mouth of God. Piperski, for those who don't know, it's a dish that
The favorite.
It's one of my favorites.
Elliot was teaching us how to do. It's a national plate of Macedonia.
It's a great dish.
It is. Actually, I had it. I had it for my wife cooked it. I told her about it, and she made the banana peppers. It was amazing. Yeah. It was delicious.
It's great. Hey, it is so good.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
So it's a red pepper based dish.
Yeah. That's gonna be my job is try and convert people to to know the good flavor of piperki.
Now, even better than eating piperki at home is flying to Macedonia for pretty much free and trying that delicious dish right there. I'm going to tell you how you can do this, my friends.
How can you do it?
The story that I'm going to bring happened in the not too distant past in 1999 with a man named David Phillips.
David Phillips.
So David Phillips, he's been claimed as a bit of a deal-finding genius. And the reason being is because in 1999, there was an American food company called Healthy Choice that came out with a promotion saying that for every 10 barcodes of their products that you send them, you could earn 500 miles from one of the airline companies there. So
Wow.
David wanted to take his family to Europe, to Italy that year. Like, oh, maybe this is going to help me.
Yeah.
So he went to the grocery store. He went to the frozen section. He saw some, frozen desserts there, and $2 for the dessert will already get you, one barcode.
Yeah.
But then he strolled with his shopping cart a few aisles down, and he found out that they were also selling canned soups, and the canned soups could be bought for 90 cents each.
Okay.
But it wasn't until he reached a little bit closer to the cashier that he hit the mother lode. He realized that if he bought the individual puddings, they were going for only 25 cents each.
Wow.
He could really get, these miles happening.
Yeah.
So what he decided to do, he decided to buy every single pudding that he could find in that store for 25 cents.
That's
He
wow.
wiped the warehouse out of puddings. But he didn't stop there because he only had until the end of the month. He only had 3 weeks to go, and so that the miles were double points. So if he could send in before the end of the month, so then for each product that he would send, for each 10 barcodes, he would get 1,000 miles instead of 500 miles.
So it's costing this guy $2.50 because 10 of these 25-cent puddings is $2.50 to
For
get
1,000 miles.
1,000 miles.
So he decided he took his mother-in-law with him, and then they were basically running up and down the state of California trying to get as many healthy choice puddings as he could. He ended up buying 12,000 pots of pudding containers, and he spent $3,500.
Okay.
But then he had a problem. He had only a few days left, and there's no way that he could get all of the barcodes out of these puddings in time. It's like 12,000 puddings. I mean, how do you cut each one by one? So he had this great idea. He said, you know what? He reached out to the Salvation Army, to 2 Salvation Army branches. They were running local food banks in town, and says, hey, guys, I have a deal. I will give you 12,000 cans of pudding, like pots of pudding, for free if you and your volunteers help me to cut out the barcodes from the package and give it to me.
Wow.
The Salvation Army people look at each other and says, deal.
Yeah.
They brought their volunteers. In no time, they gave him the 12,000 barcodes that he needed. They got all these puddings for free for their food banks. And because he made a donation to the food banks, he also could make that from this $3,500 that he spent, he could write out $815 from his tax.
Wow.
So it only really cost him about $2,700 to get all of that. And then he mailed all of these packages in, and he waited for 1 week. He waited second week, third week. Nothing was happening. And he was thinking, I knew these healthy companies, they just tell you that they're going to give you stuff, but they never do.
Yeah.
But you know what? After a month or so, this big, massive check comes into his mail, awarding him 1,250,000 miles.
Whoa.
They honored the deal.
1,000,000 miles.
Over 1,000,000 miles. He was working out the maths, and this is what that drove him to do. Like for 1,000 miles in their website, it was costing something like, in the airline's website, it was costing something like $20 per 1,000 miles. So he was basically buying them for $2.
Yeah.
Or $2.50. So that's why we realized this is a great deal. So he got this went over 1,000,000 miles, and guess what he did with that? He traveled the world. He invited his family, his friends, his co-workers. He just paid for everyone.
Wow.
And basically he flew to like over 43 countries.
Wow.
In like 5 years.
That's incredible.
He spent all of his miles in 5 years. The interesting thing about him, though, is that he still has about 2 million miles in his account. on top of the 1 million miles that he earned, because he basically became addicted to just collecting miles from various different kinds of promotions.
No way.
There's even an article line that teaches like that, shows like, different websites that you can look that will teach you how to get miles. And he gives some tips there, have to be open for like last minute deals. And
I need to get onto this.
I know, right?
That's incredible.
Look, one of the things about that one is that you have to be open-minded to travel to places that are available, because a lot of these times, a lot of miles or air tickets are very cheap. Air tickets are going to, like, say, places that you never thought about going. I'd say Korea or the Philippines or, I don't know, Cambodia.
Yeah. Okay.
So and sometimes it's just a matter of seizing the opportunity as soon as it gets there. So he gives all of the different tips there, like, websites and blogs to follow. He says, look, be flexible with your travel calendar. Be ready to purchase last-minute deals, and don't always use your airline miles. Sometimes it's just even cheaper to just buy them straight up.
Okay.
And the one of the secrets is really knowing how much these miles are worth by the airlines and how much are they being offered by these different deals that you can find.
Yeah. That is so fascinating.
Isn't it fascinating? If you'd like to get the article where it's an old article, this one, so I do not know. I haven't checked if all of these websites and blogs that are mentioned here still are alive and kicking. But hey, if you'd like to have a look at that article, let me know here. Text me #travel to 0491 064 669, and I'm going to send that article to you. You can check for yourself to see if they're still working. But I'll tell you this, my friend, if you are into traveling, and I know that a lot of young people really like to travel.
Yeah.
I was talking to a young lady the other day, and she said, look, I want to travel the world. And this is what I want to do. This is whatever I'll have to do for work to be able to travel. If I work in a cruise ship, in a hospitality, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But I want to see the world. And I'll tell you, if you are a fan of traveling, and I am a big fan of traveling, I really love traveling, heaven is going to be the place for you to be.
Yeah, that is
Let
true.
me tell you, you have to know my friend Jesus.
Yeah.
Because Jesus said that when you believe in him and you trust in him, you will have eternal life. And in eternal life, one of the things that we will be doing lots and lots is traveling, not only around the world, but throughout the universe.
That'd be so awesome. I think that's... dude, I cannot wait for that. I cannot wait for where we could just go and visit other planets.
I know.
Go check out other places.
And the best thing is for free, because the Bible says that there's no such thing as money in heaven.
Yeah, wow.
So everything is free.
How good
Because there's
is that?
infinite of everything. Just like being a billionaire, everybody's going to be a billionaire. Just
how
infinite
good is
money.
that?
Travel a lot. Imagine, like, I sometimes like to imagine myself like eating the bread baked by this angel that has been crafting, that has been honing his craft of bread baking skills for like over like 5 million years. And then you try the baguette, or you try the sweet tart, and everything's going to be healthy for you too.
It's going to be the best thing you've ever tasted in your life.
I think that you taste it and you have like explosions of flavors, visions and dreams in your life.
Imagine that.
So I'm telling you, if for no other reason you want to become a Christian and follower of Jesus, if you like travel, this is the best religion for you to follow. The religion of Jesus, because there's going to be a lot of traveling involved. Actually, the whole celestial city, New Jerusalem, is an amazing travel machine. Yeah. It's like a massive caravan, which is a city that travels into space. It's just like, how serious about travel can you be if the capital of the universe is itself a massive cruise ship? Interstellar, intergalactic.
Yeah, intergalactic space cruise. How good
All
is
the
that?
comfort of your home in the New Jerusalem. You go from planet to planet, exploring all of the dark corners of the universe, and God will be ever creating new worlds that we can explore. Actually, one of my favorite worlds that I think will exist is a world that the whole world is just covered in snow, and you just ski down, and then you fly up back to the mountain, ski down, and
Imagine
you just do that all day long.
Oh, that would be amazing.
So if you're into traveling, the travel of the lifetime, the greatest travel of all, will be when Jesus returns to save us from sin and evil and take us to live with him forever and ever. I cannot wait enough for that day.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
now the time of our weekly interview with Justin Lawman, our political commentator and correspondent from Canberra. Justin, good morning to you, mate. I heard that some Faith FM listeners wanting to make a golden statue of your likeness. Is it okay if we install it at your property there?
If they were
Would you
making
like
one
one?
of my likeness, it would be to throw rocks at, mate. So,
Mate, what's going on with Donald Trump's latest gadget? It's this golden statue at Mar-a-Lago. Have you seen that on the news?
Look, Trump is I have seen it, thank you. Trump's a very polarizing figure, isn't he? You either can't stand to even listen to him, or they worship the ground on which he walks. And there seems to be very little in between those two.
Yeah.
And, they've set this 22-foot high golden statue. I don't know how much gold's in it. There's a bit of paint on it, but it's...
That's right. Look, it's not a solid gold. Apparently, it's like a bronze statue with just like golden foil around it, like golden leaves.
Look, I can't imagine Australians ever doing such a thing. But
That's
then
a
again,
golden statue of Albo. And
they made one of Wally Lewis at Lane Park, a bronze one, and that's as close as we get, I think. But
look, this is my thing.
But it wasn't the Americans who did this. It was the individual did it for himself.
Yeah. So
come on, Shell, it's Americans.
That's right. Okay. So the story was there's a bunch of cryptocurrency investors that were very grateful, I believe, for the amount of money that they've made in cryptocurrency lately. And they fundraised about $300,000 US, and they donated that as a gift to President Trump. So it's not in state owned land, is in Trump's property in Mar-a-Lago. And Donald Trump, as far as we know, did not wanted that statue, but he accepted. But what I find interesting is that President Trump, or whoever organized the unveiling of the statue, called a pastor to do that. And the pastor says, guys, I just want to be very clear. We're not worshiping that statue. We're only worshiping Jesus. This statue is beautiful. It's representing courage, patriotism, and so on. This is not the golden calf of the Bible. This is not the image of Daniel chapter 3. Please, let's just make it very clear. Stop thinking that. I do not know why would you be thinking that, but don't think it.
Donald Trump is a textbook narcissist, and it's like not his fault. That's a diagnosable disorder that people can develop or are born with. I don't know which one, but I don't think he'd have too many problems with the statue to himself.
That's right. Okay, so moving on from Trump, let's talk about Pauline Hanson, because the lady was celebrating hard over the weekend, wasn't she? What was the historical feat that they conquered?
It is quite a feat, I tell you. To have a seat in the lower house in Australia, that's the House of Representatives. That's a first for the movement. I want to probably put to you guys today, it won't be the last. The South Australian election, they got 4 or 5 seats in the state parliament over there. This has been a bit of a test, and I think in the country, in the regional areas, the National Party is in a lot of trouble. I think the Liberal Party is in tons of trouble as well. And since they've got Barnaby over there, who has been the Deputy Prime Minister, it's brought a lot more credibility to One Nation. Like, they know how to run a party, they know how to run a government. And this shift, we've been talking about it on here for a couple of years now, Joseph.
True.
This is a shift to populist nationalists, away from the globalist, send everything overseas to be made. Climate change is the big moral crisis of our age. All the doctrines of globalism are falling down in the Western countries now at a rapid rate. And I've been shocked at how quickly this has come to the fore in Australia. And immigration, and particularly Islamic immigration, I think has led to these election results.
And we're seeing that on the wake of the bringing home of the ISIS brides, as they've been called, and these ladies who were married to ISIS soldiers, and Australian ladies that came back to Australia, and a couple of them got jailed. Some of them for crimes against humanity, from processing in slaves and whatnot. Others are, are free, but then investigated. But I think that repatriation of these ISIS brides did not make the federal government bring many friends or favors to them.
Well, if you live in the country, that their first reaction of the government is to take the guns off farmers, and the main people that own firearms in Australia are in those national country seats. So did they have anything to do with that event at all? Nothing. So our current government is going to have to really rethink their approach, particularly to immigration and the pressure it's putting on housing. But look what's happened in England. This is a phenomenon that's far bigger than Pauline Hanson or Australia. This is happening all over the globe, that there's a populist nationalist movement arising in most Western countries all at the same time.
So what happened in England? Because in the last elections in the parliament in the UK, Labour still had a quite significant majority. How are they holding on against this populist tide that's sweeping over Europe in so many other countries?
Well, this election that happened just a few days ago in the UK was for local councils. It wasn't for the parliament. So it can be a little confusing as people are listening to reports about it. They do a third of the local councils every couple of years, and they've done a third of the local councils. Last time that happened, the UK Reform Party, it has come out of UKIP that led the separation from Europe in the Brexit. That party, Nigel Farage is the leader. He is a populist nationalist and anti-immigration and all that sort of stance. He won 900 seats at the last local elections, which was significant.
Wow.
This time it looks like around 1,500 have been won, and Labor has completely collapsed. As have the other main Tory party. They did better than Labor, but it was dominated by a brand new party that's only 2 years old. 2 years old.
Wow.
That's really the Pauline Hanson story. She was dead and buried politically. She was just like been there 30 years, and you thought she'd run her race. And all of a sudden, it's like it's a new party again. It's been reformed. And that's happened in the UK, and that has put massive calls on Keir Starmer, the British Labour Prime Minister, to resign by his own party. He is under incredible pressure. He's very, very unpopular, and the United Kingdom looks like when they do get to their elections I think it's 2 years out. When they do get there to the parliamentary elections, if this is repeated at that level, and that's what commentators believe will happen, we will see a very different England the way it's governed.
Wow. That's very interesting. And what about in the United States? Do we have any news that can be affecting the midterms? Because midterms are coming up, aren't they?
Everyone is focused on this dreadful war, and it's really stopped being a war. I don't know what we'd call it, a blockade now with Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. But in the meantime, there's been tremendous wins for Trump's side in courts. So, and I don't want to bore people, but this is really, really significant. So when they come to their midterms this November, they've gerrymandered, we'd call it, where they have according to race, they'll make a seat in an inner city where the majority of the population is African American, and they always vote Democrat, so that becomes a safe Democrat seat. And they've been able to gerrymander or rig the boundaries of that election seat by race. Well, the High Court made a decision now, I think 2 weeks ago now, that actually turned that over and said, no, that's not constitutional, that's illegal. And it's the highest court in the land. It can't be challenged now. So all of these southern states are re-looking at their boundaries, and what were safe seats, they've actually redrawn the lines to make them safe Republican seats. And this happened the other way with California. They made it all Democratic, and they changed the boundaries so the Republicans couldn't win. And Virginia particularly, it was like 5-6, 6 Democratic, 5 Republican seats. Well, they changed the boundaries so it became, 10-1. There's 10 safe Democratic seats, and that way you couldn't win the midterms. It was all gerrymandered. But a court has just overturned the Virginian decision. So the Democrats have lost out in this whole process very badly. And Barack Obama, who you think should be off retired somewhere, has got very involved in this process. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And right now, it looks like the Republicans are sitting pretty for the midterms. And we thought there's no way Trump could ever win, or his side, in these elections in November. Well, all of a sudden, because of the redrawing of these boundaries, it looks like they can win.
So they're going back to the original drawings, because it sounds a lot like playing dirty if you're just shifting
totally playing dirty.
The boundaries around so that you can manipulate the results, particularly in the American complicated electoral college system. So they're coming back to the original boundaries. Is that what's happening?
They're redrawing them in ways that suit, because a lot of the southern states have Republican governors and a Republican House of Representatives at a state level, like Texas and Carolina, North Carolina, all of these, Mississippi. But they've had a pretty fair sort of approach towards elections. That's all gone. It's now a knife fight over who's going to get what boundaries.
Wow.
And if you have power in that state, California has just wiped out the Republican seats by changing boundaries. So inner city seats, they bleed out into country areas now. So the country people get overwhelmed by the numbers in the city, and they can't win that seat. So that they're playing dirty. Absolutely, they're playing dirty.
Wow, man alive. And then just to the cherry on the top of the cake here, there's this outbreak of hantavirus in this cruise ship. And it killed again. 3 people. Have you seen this movie again? Have you seen this movie before? And then they're bringing 4 Australians that were in this cruise ship back to Australia. They have no symptoms, but apparently it took weeks and weeks for the symptoms of the hantavirus to pop up. And they're saying here that hantavirus have mortality rates that range from 15%, the most optimistic, to 50%, depending on the strain.
Brother, and I shouldn't say this on the radio, but I was in Perth over the weekend. I was preaching over there, Bunbury. Hello to everyone in Bunbury. Awesome church over there. Anyway, I'm in the airport, and I saw a clip where the Simpsons have played this basic scenario out in a cartoon.
Man,
have
the Simpsons prophecies,
this is crazy.
I know. Wow. So look, I heard some interviews with some experts saying, hey, there's nothing to worry about. But I don't know if there's really nothing to worry about here. This seems pretty worrying.
It's not airborne like COVID was airborne. That you had to mask up and everything. This is more through saliva, and that's my understanding. The medical expert that I'm not, but yeah,
Yeah, but at the same time, they say that normally the hantavirus does not transmit from human to human. It's usually from human exposure to rat droppings. Sometimes even breathing the gases that are coming from rats' poop or droppings or urine can get you sick. But now it's
well, I wouldn't
from
have
human
thought
to human.
coming in contact with rat droppings was a very healthy sort of thing to do at the best of times.
And also,
know, man.
yeah, and then in the cruise ship as well. So anyway, I'm looking at that and just praying to God, say, Lord, please, not again. But Jesus did say that there will be pandemics at the end of the time. So, and it says pandemics in plural. The Gospels say, particularly the Gospel of Luke.
It does.
Pestilences, yes. So, yeah, something to pray about here. But it's not looking great.
Don't go on a cruise ship. That's the moral to the story.
Yes, okay? I wish that the golden statue of President Trump was the greatest problem we will have to face in this day and age. Unfortunately, it's not.
Thanks for being a part of the Faith FM family. Join our community on Facebook or get in touch at 1-800-FAITH-FM.